The alarm on the station cut through my office like a blade of sound, and before I even stood up, my hands were shaking. 3 seconds earlier, everything had been normal. Now every light on my console had turned red, and a voice from the ceiling was saying the words no one on this station ever wanted to hear. Possible diplomatic incident. Level 1. All personnel remain in position. I am not a soldier. I am not a negotiator. My name is Daniel Price, and my job is simple. I check crates. I sign forms. I make sure that supplies moving between the human sector and the Threshfang sector of this station arrive where they are supposed to arrive, in the numbers they are supposed to arrive in. That is all I have ever done here, for 3 years, without a single problem. Until 11 minutes ago. 11 minutes ago, I said one word to a Threshfang warrior named Vren Kaldosun, and now half the station was locked down because of it. I did not know, when I said it, that the word I chose was not a small word in her language. I did not know that her people, a species that had fought 3 wars against humanity before the ceasefire 6 years ago, did not have soft words. They did not have words that meant a little bit of something. Every word in their language that touched on feeling was heavy. It carried weight. It carried meaning that could not be taken back once it left your mouth. I found this out the hard way, in my own office, while she was standing in my doorway collecting her signature on a shipping manifest. I had said she was cute. I meant it as a small thing, a friendly thing, the kind of comment you make about someone's habit, not about someone's heart. She always checked her own shipments, never sent anyone else to do it, and I thought that was a nice thing to notice out loud. But there is no small word for cute in Threshfang. There is only one word close to it, and that word is reserved for a person you have chosen to keep for the rest of your life. It is not casual. It is not something you say to a coworker over paperwork. It is closer to a promise than a compliment, and once you say it to a Threshfang warrior, especially one from a high clan like hers, you cannot simply explain it away and expect the moment to pass quietly. I watched her flush red across her face when I said it, the color climbing up her neck and into the ridges above her eyes. At the time I thought it might be anger, because I had read once in a briefing that Threshfang's skin turns red before a challenge. But she did not challenge me. She stood there a long moment, said something about coming back the next day, and left. I thought that was the end of it. It was not the end of it. Somewhere between her office and mine, word had already started to move through the Threshfang sector. Not through any system or network, but through people talking, the way rumors always move faster than facts. A human logistics officer had spoken words of lifelong claim to Vren Kaldosun, daughter of a war clan that had lost family in the last conflict with humanity and had not taken them back. To her people, silence after a claim like that is not neutral. Silence means you meant it. By the time I learned any of this, security had already sealed both sectors, worried that either side might see the moment as an insult serious enough to break 6 years of careful peace. I sat in my office chair, staring at the red lights, trying to understand how one word about paperwork habits had turned into something that could reopen old wounds between 2 species. My comm chimed. It was Grace Whitfield, the station's junior communications officer, and one of the only people who ever bothered to explain things to me, instead of talking over my head. Her voice was fast and tight. "Daniel," she said, "you need to get to the central hub right now. They think this is heading toward a formal incident. The elders on her side are already asking questions. If nobody clears this up soon, it becomes a matter of honor, and once it becomes a matter of honor, it is out of anyone's hands, including hers." I asked her what that meant, exactly, matter of honor. She said it meant that if Vren did not respond to my words in a way her people recognized, either by accepting them or by publicly rejecting them, then her own standing among her clan would be questioned. And if her standing was questioned because of something a human said carelessly, there were people on her side who would treat that as an insult to the whole clan, not just to her. In other words, my throwaway comment about paperwork habits was now sitting on top of 6 years of fragile peace, and if I did nothing, it might tip the wrong way. I left my office at a near run. The corridors between the human and Threshfang sectors were usually open, lined with shared shops and quiet foot traffic. Today they were empty except for security personnel standing at intervals, watching both directions like they expected something to happen. Nobody stopped me. Nobody seemed to know what to do with a human running toward the Threshfang sector instead of away from it. I reached the central hub just as the doors on the far side opened, and a group of Threshfang elders walked through, tall and armored, moving with the kind of unhurried weight that told you they were used to being obeyed. Behind them, a step back and to the side, was Vren. She still had the flush in her face, but it looked different now, tighter, like she was holding something back with effort. One of the elders spoke first, in Threshfang Standard, and my translator caught up half a second late, the way it always did. He said, "This human spoke a claim to our warrior, and has not confirmed or denied it. We require an answer. Words spoken carelessly still carry weight in this house." I felt every eye in the hub turn toward me. Grace was somewhere behind me. I could feel her there, but I did not turn to look for her. I looked at Vren instead, because she was the only person in that room who actually knew what I had meant when I said it. She did not look away from me. She did not help me either. Her expression was carefully still, the way a person looks when they have decided not to decide anything until they see what you do first. I understood, in that moment, that I had two paths in front of me. I could explain the misunderstanding, tell them plainly that in my language the word I used was small and harmless, that I never intended a claim, and let the moment dissolve as an accident of translation. That was the safe path. It would end the crisis quickly. It would also, I suspected, humiliate Vren in front of her own elders, because it would confirm that a human had spoken words of lifelong claim to her without meaning any of it, as if her standing meant so little that a stranger could stumble into it by accident and walk away without consequence. Or I could tell them the truth as I understood it now, standing in that hub with every Threshfang eye on me. Not the truth of translation, the truth of what I actually felt, once I had time to think about it in the hour since I said it. I thought about the last 3 weeks. I thought about watching her carry crates herself instead of trusting anyone else. I thought about the way she checked every manifest twice, not because she doubted her people, but because she cared enough to be certain. I thought about the way she had looked at me in my office doorway, red across her face, waiting to see if I would take my words back, and some part of me, even in the middle of my own panic, had not wanted to. I said, I did not know the weight of the word when I used it. That much is true, but I have had time to think since then, and I do not want to take it back. The room went very quiet. Even the ventilation seemed to pause. The lead elder turned toward Vren. He asked her directly, "Does this human understand what he is saying?" Vren looked at me for a long moment before she answered. "He is beginning to," she said. That was not the answer the elder wanted. He pressed her, asked if she accepted the claim or rejected it, because the station could not remain sealed while the matter sat unresolved. Every minute that passed with no answer was a minute where rumors grew larger on both sides, and a minute where old grudges found new reasons to wake up. Vren stepped forward, past the elders, until she was standing directly in front of me. Up close, she was even taller than I remembered, and the plates along her shoulders caught the light in a way that made her look carved rather than built. She asked me one question, quietly, meant only for me, even though everyone in the hub could hear it. "Do you understand what you are agreeing to, if I accept this?" I told her I understood it meant something permanent. I understood it was not a small thing to her people, and that if I was wrong about wanting it, I should say so now, because there would not be an easy way to undo it later. She studied my face for what felt like a very long time. Then she turned back to the elders and said the words that ended the emergency alert running through both sectors. She said she accepted the claim, made in ignorance but confirmed in knowledge, and that she considered the matter closed under clan law. The tension in the room broke like a held breath finally let go. The elders exchanged looks among themselves, some clearly surprised, a few almost amused, and after a moment, the lead elder gave a short nod and said the incident would be recorded as resolved, not as insult. I felt my legs go weak with relief, though I tried not to show it. It was only later, once the lockdown lifted and the corridors filled again with ordinary foot traffic, that Grace found me sitting outside the hub, still catching my breath. She sat down next to me and asked if I had any idea how close that had come to becoming a real problem. She said the last time something like this happened, years before I arrived on the station, It had taken weeks of formal talks to settle, and that this time, it had nearly happened over a single word about paperwork. I told her I knew. I told her I had not meant to cause any of it. She smiled and said, "That was obvious to everyone except apparently me, because anyone who watched me stumble through that explanation, in front of a room of Threshfang elders, could tell I had no idea what I was doing, and yet somehow, it had worked out anyway." I asked her how. She said, "Because you told the truth instead of the easy answer. Their people respect that more than they respect being careful." I sat there for a while after she left, thinking about how strange it was that a mistake in translation had turned into the most honest thing I had said in years. The next day, exactly as she had promised the day before all of this started, Vren arrived at my office with the crate manifest herself. She did not send anyone else. She stood in the same doorway, the flush in her face lighter now, more settled, less like a warning, and more like something else entirely. She placed the manifest on my desk and waited while I signed it, the same as always. But this time, when I slid it back across to her, she did not pick it up right away. She said, "My people are already talking about this. About us." I asked her if that bothered her. She said it did not, though she admitted it would take time for some on her side to fully accept it, since humans and Threshfang had spent more years fighting each other than trusting each other. She said there would be difficult conversations ahead, some with her own family, some with officers on the human side who would not understand why she had chosen to accept, rather than correct, the misunderstanding. I told her I was ready for that, even though I was not entirely sure that was true. She studied me again, the way she had in the hub the day before, like she was still deciding something about me even after everything that had already happened. Then she said something I did not expect. She said that in her culture, warriors are taught from a young age never to speak carelessly, because words carry consequences that cannot always be predicted. She said their people had learned to fear careless words, because careless words between our two species had once led to war. But she said humans were different in a way she had not expected. Humans spoke first and thought after, and somehow that made them harder to read, but also, in a strange way, harder to distrust, because there was no room left for hidden meaning. What I said in that doorway was clumsy and accidental, but it was not calculated. It had no strategy behind it. It was simply what I felt, said out loud before I had time to filter it into something safer. She said that was rare, among her own people and among mine. I did not know what to say to that, so I said the only honest thing I could think of, which was that I was glad it had not gotten either of us hurt, and gladder still that she had not walked away. She picked up the manifest then, finally, and turned to leave, but she paused at the door the way she had the very first time, and looked back at me. She said, "Tomorrow, I will bring the manifest again." I told her she did not have to keep doing that herself. She said, "I know. That is why I am telling you I will not stop." After she left, I sat at my desk for a long time, looking at the closed door, thinking about how close the whole station had come to a crisis, over a word I had used without thinking, and how that same word had somehow become the start of something neither of us had planned. Grace stopped by later that evening, still curious about the whole situation, and asked me directly if I had any regrets about how it all played out. I told her the only regret I had was not knowing, the first time I said it, exactly what I was starting. She laughed and said, that was probably better than knowing, because if I had understood the weight of the word beforehand, I might never have said it at all, and then none of this would have happened. She was probably right. Over the following weeks, the station slowly returned to its normal rhythm. The lockdown became a story people told in passing, already softened by time, already turning into something closer to a legend than an incident report. Officers on both sides who had been tense and watchful in those first hours grew used to seeing Vren walk through the human sector each morning, manifest in hand, heading toward my office with no urgency in her steps at all. Some of her people still eyed me carefully when I crossed into their sector, unsure what to make of a human who had, by accident, spoken words that carried the weight of a lifelong promise, and then chosen not to take them back. But slowly, even that watchfulness began to soften into something more like curiosity than suspicion. I never did learn the exact words she used for what I had said, the true Threshfang word behind the translation my implant gave me. I asked her once, and she told me some things are better left as they are, understood through what happens after, rather than through the word itself. I did not push her on it. I decided she was probably right about that too. What I do know is this. I came to this station 3 years ago to check crates and sign forms, expecting nothing more from my days than quiet routine and the occasional inventory error to sort out. I never expected one careless word to nearly ignite a diplomatic crisis between two species who had spent decades learning how not to trust each other. And I never expected that same word, spoken by accident in a moment of nervous small talk, to become the truest thing I had ever said to anyone. Every morning now, I wait for the sound of her footsteps in the corridor outside my office, heavy and steady, the same sound that once meant nothing more to me than another shipment to log. Now it means something else entirely, something I still do not have the right words for, in either of our languages. Maybe that is fine. Maybe some things are not meant to be translated at all. Maybe they are only meant to be lived, one manifest, one morning, one quiet moment at a time.